Welcome back to another episode of Lasting Legacies. I'm Evan Herrman, and a big thanks to KGEB. This is our special guest host today, Matt Moore.
Thank you.
Matt, you're going to introduce the guy who is responsible in his business for that jingle that is stuck in our heads. It's Robertson Tire, I'm rolling with Robertson. Please forgive my singing. So please introduce us to the man.
You're fine. I mean, some people call him Rubberhead Ted. I like to call him my personal mentor, both spiritually and by business. You guys are really in for a treat today. Ted Robertson, I like to call him the godfather of marketplace ministry.
That's awesome.
In fact, the really cool thing about Ted is his stores, Robertson Tire, they not only do tires and automotive care, but they've got, 17 different stores?
Wow. Man,
so,
that's awesome.
Really, when it comes to success, he is the epitome of success when it comes to both business and marketplace ministry. At YBT, we really do focus on, the full man, spiritually, mentally, relationally, health-wise, and in our personal business as well. Well, Ted has invested so much into me, and he is the reason why we have started YBT. He's the reason why we've given back so much to the community. And so I think today we're going to have a fantastic conversation with a man who's not only made a difference in my life, but has literally transformed Tulsa.
He's the reason why we're all here.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. So please, by all means, do not go anywhere. If you want to learn and grow and become a better you, then you've got to listen to Ted. I promise you're not going to regret it. We'll be right back after this. This program is made possible by the generous support of OklahomaBanner.com. Oklahoma Banner is a locally owned company providing custom-designed, full-color banners shipped directly to you. They offer a wide variety of banner products. Visit OklahomaBanner.com today. It's been said that life is about capturing moments, so I encourage you to capture this moment right here and take a picture of my contact information to reach out to me later. It is most important when you find a real estate agent to find one with the ability to communicate with all involved, knowledgeable about the real estate market, and one's ability to negotiate contracts. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home within the next year, reach out to me. I'd love to see how I can help you reach your goals. Thank you so much.
Do you suffer with migraines, seizures, neuropathy, dementia, or movement disorders? Discover an independent concierge neurology practice with treatment from a Christian perspective by Dr. George Gonzalez.
Welcome back to Lasting Legacies. Well, gentlemen, let's get started. We're so thankful you're being here today with us, Ted. Thankful for your time. And Matt, I do believe you had the first question you wanted to open up with here today.
Absolutely. Well, Ted, you are by far a legend here in Tulsa, and I think it's important for people to realize that you've been in business for over half a century, and you have taken a proactive role in getting your family involved, both your sons and your grandchildren. I want you to paint a picture for the audience of who is Ted Robertson, and just give a little bit of your story, because I think everybody's intrigued to see where you've come from and where you are now.
Sure, Matt. I was born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma by a Christian family. When I was 16 years old, my dad was killed in an industrial accident. And a well-meaning friend trying to help me said, Ted, maybe God took your dad because he wanted you to be sure you're a teenager and the world's pulling on you, and maybe he took your dad so you'd be sure and meet him in heaven. Well, that worked the opposite with me. I became angry. I was angry at God. I was angry at my mother. I became a disciplinary problem. I had a scholarship to Northeastern for basketball, and there were so many problems that I went into service. Came out of the service, and I was doing things that I was taught not to do as a boy. But I got caught up in this thing, and I still hated, I was just anger in my heart. And I came back to Tulsa, and my cousin worked at the telephone company, and she introduced me to a real pretty girl. And but she was a Christian and I wasn't. But I made her believe I was, because I had a brother in Texas that was a preacher, and my dad was a lay preacher. So I played the game, and so we got married. And I was working for a large corporation as a sales manager. I had 14 salesmen that I took care of. And I had the easiest job in the world, suit and tie. I'd get my salesmen off in the morning with call sheets, and then I could go play golf or bowl or whatever I wanted to do, and they'd come in at 5. I look over at their call sheets, and I was gone. So this lasted for about 2 or 3 years, and when you're successful in the corporate world, they want to move you. And they wanted me to go to Kansas City, they wanted me to go to St. Louis and other places, and my family wanted to stay here. So I had to make a decision, because if you pass up so many times, they don't ask you anymore. In the corporate world, you're stuck just where you are. So I decided to go into business for myself. I thought if I could make money for this tire company, I can do it for myself. So I found a little 4,000 square foot building over in North Tulsa at Admiral and Utica, probably one of the highest transit poor neighborhoods in Tulsa. And had a little 4,000 square foot building with 1 service bay. And I started there with 1 employee, 1 service guy to change tires. But I changed tires also. We were selling tires, but I had to pay my tire bills in 30 days, and some of those service stations, especially out in western Oklahoma, they paid when the crops came in.
Yeah.
And that's just the way they did business out there. So I caught myself at an early part of my business in trouble. And I was way in debt, which would be probably equivalent to $500,000 today.
Wow.
I wasn't a Christian. Of all the pressures and the territory men that come in, I would go out and nightlife with them, because that's what I did when I was with the corporation. And that didn't go too well with my Christian wife. And so we separated for 45 days. And I slept in that old tire store.
Wow.
And I had 2 little boys, and one about 5 and the other about 3. And I would go home every night, though, and pick those boys up and take them to a park. And then I'd go back, and they'd stand in the front yard and cry. And I'd go down the street, 6'1", 2 guy, 250 pounds, and cry like a baby myself.
Wow.
So finally, I called my wife, and I said, Anna, what can we do that we can raise these boys and give them a happy home? And she said, you got to go to church with me. And boy, I didn't know how to handle that deal. I didn't want to, but I did. And I'm telling this story for somebody out there that might be experiencing the very same thing that I did. Yeah. And I went to church that night with her, and it was a revival. And I had always thought preachers, because when I grew up, they were all white-headed, and they were all old, and I was an athlete and weightlifter, and so I didn't think too much of preachers. But this guy that preached that night was from LaFleur County, Oklahoma. He looked like a professional wrestler, had shoulders like that down to a tapered way, and he spoke on consequences of sin, separation from God. Mm-hmm. And because of my early training, I knew I was not ready to meet God. So I remember going out to the car and praying to myself. I didn't say anything, but God, if you'll just give me another day, I'll make things right tomorrow night. I went to church, and that night I accepted Jesus Christ as my personal Savior. It turned my life around. Old things became, passed away, and all things became new. Yeah. And my life changed, but so did my business.
That's awesome.
My business started after I did that and started paying tithes and started living by kingdom principles. My business flourished. Now, I can't understand it, because people came to me and wanting to sell me their properties, adjoining me on Admiral Boulevard, which is now a service road. When I left there, because of my consecration to God and by paying tithes and living the right kind of life, I left there with all the whole city block.
Wow.
21 service bays, and the largest one retail tire store in the south central part of Oklahoma. Now, I say that because I believe God did that. When He transformed my life, my home life got better. I could think better. I could work better. And so that's kind of a bit how I started, and a little bit about my personal life.
It's fantastic.
So your business grew to the extent that you did.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, Ted, I got a question here for you. You're talking about the kingdom of God and your business, how it was a direct impact towards your business. And then your business became a place where ministry happened, and it propelled you to create other aspects, to do other things to affect the community. And I hear when you talk, you use the term marketplace ministry. And I've never heard much of that before. And I want you to expound on what does it mean to have a business that is a marketplace ministry?
How I got into marketplace, if you remember, years and years ago, they had a charismatic Pentecostal group called the Full Gospel Businessmen Fellowship.
Yeah.
I was called by a realtor one day after I became a Christian and my business began to get better. And he wanted me to come and give my testimony. I'd never done that before. I didn't know anything about that. But it was at the Marriott Hotel, and so I went. And I just told him the same story I told you, and what God had done in my life and how he'd changed me and changed my business. And evidently the men must have related to that, because I began to get invitations in Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas. So I spent the next 2 years almost every weekend speaking somewhere at a Full Gospel Businessmen's Association. And so I became president of that here in Tulsa. And that was my start in marketplace ministry. But God changed that. While I was with Full Gospel, I was involved in a lot of ministries, what we call marketplace ministries here. And by that I mean we're not ordained pastors.
Right.
We're just businessmen, laymen that have the calling on our lives to win people to Christ through our business and through our own, not preachers. So that's how I started, and we started a work over in North Tulsa, and it was to bring people in from the Section 8 housing and all the poor people around that area. And by that time I was fairly successful in business, so I had a lot of financial help. And we went over and rented that YMCA at Peoria and Pine. And it had it would hold 350 people.
Wow.
Had a kitchen. So we had a big barbecue, and we would bring somebody in from New York or from Chicago that fit in with that people's challenges and problems they had. But they found Christ, and they told and related what happened to them whenever they made a difference in their lives. That was so successful that we had more businessmen get involved in that. Now the preachers didn't like it. I invited them, but it was a different type of ministry. You're dealing with people that, I remember one night I led a gang member to Christ, didn't know it. He must have been 6'7". And after he accepted Christ, he reached in his boot and pulled out an axe, a little hatchet. Wow. And said, I won't be needing this anymore. And I could write a book on the experiences from that 8 years I spent with people. But God put a call on my life. And I was still president of that group plus the Full Gospel. But one night we had a line of men and women that were waiting to accept Christ. They responded to an altar call. And the way we had it lined up, we had a prayer room where when people would accept Christ, they would go in that prayer room and have an individual, and that individual's job was to disciple them. Only 15% of people that accept Christ actually stay with it.
Right.
And so these people discipled them. They would call them and work with them for 3 or 4 months. And it was going wonderful. I had no problems at all, but my wife had cancer. And we were going through some real challenges. And
let's pause right there. That's a good segue. I want to hear what happens. And we'll be right back after this break. I want to hear what happened and what changed in his life and his family.
Hi, my name is Matt Moore, president of the Young Businessmen of Tulsa. I pray that this program is a blessing to you and that it inspires you to grow in both your business and personal life. Did you know that many people, both young and old, hold a mentality that their success is all about them, when in reality, we know that our success is dependent on how well we can serve and meet the needs of others. Owning a business is a huge responsibility, And success is very important for not only you, but also your employees and your community. If our community is going to continue to thrive, we need to be proactive in promoting a business community that's focused on being excellent stewards in all areas of life so we can create lasting legacies. Today, we have a fantastic opportunity in front of us that could really take our city and community to the next level. Each program we air has the potential to reach over 1 million households. But in order to do this, we need to reach an extra $1,600 in monthly reoccurring giving. YBT is looking for two types of partners, those who can pledge $9 a month and those who can pledge $19 a month. Not only will we continue to share our Christ-centered message, but in order to keep with the spirit of YBT, a portion of each monthly pledge that you give will benefit our monthly Pay It Forward projects in order to help give back to our city. If you decide to pledge $19 a month, we will have your name scroll at the bottom of the screen on each program as a proud supporter. Every pledge is a tax-deductible donation. Will you help me make a bigger difference in our city? YBT has a track record of creating better leaders, and we have raised well over $145,000 for community projects since our conception. Join us as a co-producer as we take this message and program across the airwaves. Help us steward a message that will literally change people's lives forever. To make your pledge, please visit www.patreon.com/YBT.
Business requires a lot of things, but for me, it all comes down to wisdom. It wasn't until I changed my thinking and started surrounding myself with people that thought the same way that I began to make progress.
Community is so important. Surrounding ourselves with people who care about us and support us in the good times and the bad, and building networks that allow us to grow is vital to the success of your business.
But you have to, on a regular basis, pause your life and step back and figure out how you can get inspired so that you can keep moving forward on your track.
I'm Ted Robertson, and over 40 years I've been involved in marketplace ministry with the Tulsa Christian Businessmen. We have taught and mentored our men to operate their businesses under Bible principles. We desire to pass this experience and wisdom along to the next generation coming up.
And it's because of these men that we've been able to establish the Young Businessmen of Tulsa, a group dedicated to inspiring, connecting, and developing young business leaders to find and pursue their purpose.
Wisdom is foundational for success. And through our mentorship program, we're learning from men who've been successful for decades. We're learning how to change the way we think so that we can change our life.
We are all about community. And what that looks like to us is the monthly luncheon. Also the membership forums that we host. We're involved in all kinds of special community events. What it all boils down to is this brotherhood that we're building of guys that we can depend on.
The YBT is all about helping you discover your true passion, because when you find your true passion, you can do whatever you need to do to get the job done that you're called to do.
Not only are we finding our purpose, but we're pursuing our calling and being intentional with this idea that this life and this journey, it's not about us.
Which is why from the very beginning we've sought ways to make a difference in our community through our Pay It Forward initiatives. Together we've raised over $140,000 to bless others in our community. We've helped the Tulsa community fight to eliminate food deserts. We've supported local nonprofits to start, grow, and raise awareness of needs in our community. We've helped local schools invest in the next generation.
Along with dozens of other Pay It Forward initiatives, we are creating a culture of giving.
Men, isn't it time that we stop circling the mountain alone and start helping each other up to the summit? We need this. You need this. The Young Businessmen of Tulsa is creating leaders for a lifetime. Pursue your purpose with us.
Welcome back to Lasting Legacies, our exciting show with Young Businessmen of Tulsa, YBT. We're here today with our special guest, Ted Robertson, my co-host, Evan Herrman, special co-host, Matt Moore, president of YBT. And we're having a good time and wanted to get right back into where we were. So Ted, go ahead and continue that story where you were.
Sure. We had, as I was saying before, our ministry was really productive over there. We were doing well. A lot of people. We counted 1,500 people that we recorded that accepted Christ through that 8-year period of time. All of this done by businessmen, not preachers. But what happened one night, my wife had cancer. She was in the last stages of it. And I was at the podium, and I went down to the north part of that auditorium. And Christ, you know, there wasn't thunder or lightning or writing on the wall, but I had a feeling that I ought to go home and write a letter of resignation and stay with my wife till, you know. Yeah. So I did that. I went home, and then God called me after that into a new area. And that is coming out of a charismatic Pentecostal type ministry. God called me to go over to South Tulsa, find a hotel with linen napkins and classy, and start a new movement called Tulsa Christian Businessmen. Now, the purpose of that was that we would invite all men, regardless of their denomination. As long as they were saved and believed in Christ, they were welcome to join our ministry. Today, we have Lutherans, Catholics, Episcopalians, Methodists, all denominations. And we don't talk doctrine. I won't let them talk doctrine. All they got to talk about is what God's done in their life and what God has done in their business. Awesome. Yeah. So that's how I happened to get into the Tulsa Christian Businessmen. Now I will say this before the next question. After we became so successful in that, God put upon my heart to help start a young businessman, because all of us are gray heads in this deal. A lot of them are retired, and here came Matt Moore and Ricky Hanks into my life. And so I had to talk with them. And I told them my vision, and they accepted that vision right on the spot. And that's where YBT is today. It has grown so fantastic. And I am so proud of these guys, because they've taken the ball and run with it. And they're blessing other people. And it's just a joy, Matt, to be working with you.
Yeah. Well, it definitely has been a real privilege for me as well. Mm-hmm. Not just because I get to learn from such a great man like yourself, but primarily because I feel honored to take part in being a part of that legacy that you have started. I mean, you started a legacy with your business and your family's involved in it, but here you are with a ministry effort that you've done outside of the business where you are blessing the community. YBT, because of your investment in my life and in all the men that are involved in it, not only are they becoming better people, but the effect and the ripple effect that we've had on Tulsa, we've raised over $145,000 just for community projects alone, you know, and prayed with countless people, and I can't tell you how many testimonies I hear. But the question I want to ask you is, with all that, what does it really mean to leave a lasting legacy?
Well, you know, so many times I always related legacy to leaving somebody at the end of the life, money or business or what have you. Yeah. But the more I study this business of legacy, you're building it, living it every day. Yeah. And the reason that I say that is because I listen to a insurance actuary, and if you know what they are, they try to decide how long you're going to live based upon your age. And so I went to one at an executive meeting, and from the chart, 90% of my life was behind me and 10% was in front of me. I made a commitment to Christ, but this 10% was going to really, I was going to give it everything I got. That's awesome. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing, and that's why we're doing the things that we're accomplishing now in the Tulsa Christian Businessmen and the YBT. Yeah. And here's what I find. I find that a lot of times, even in prison ministry, people will respond to a Christian businessman different than they respond to a preacher, because we're out there where the rubber meets the road. I would venture to say, and I don't say this boastfully, but I started after I got to become a Christian. I'd get up every morning at 5:30, and I'd tell my wife, don't get up before 7. I want that hour and a half to myself. And I would pray, and my prayer was always this: God, send somebody across my path today that I can encourage and tell them about Jesus Christ and what He's done to my life. Now, this is the gospel truth. Every single solitary day, somebody would come into my office, and it might be 5:30, almost time to quit, but they'd come in, they have problems in their family, they had a bad diagnosis from the doctor, their business is on the, but I'd have a chance to minister. And because of that, probably as many people accepted Christ at my conference table as they did in a lot of churches over the long period of time.
Wow.
So that's the reason why I was called to marketplace ministry. I wasn't called to be a preacher. And what thing I've got for me, I can tell my story. I don't have to hand out tracts or what they call a Bible thumper. I don't like that terminology, but I mean, I can just tell my story simply and what God, and once you've reached a level of some type of success, why people will listen to you maybe a little. That's not the way it should be, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
This program is made possible by the generous support of the Demand Project, a nonprofit organization fighting to eradicate sex trafficking and the sexual exploitation of children. To find out how you can help, please visit thedemandproject.org today.
Could your business or organization benefit from TV advertising? KGEB Tulsa TV 53 broadcasts from the campus of Oral Roberts University and reaches the greater Tulsa metro 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Contact us for more info at 918-488-5300 or visit kgebamerica.com/sales.
Do you want to look your best? Every suit I wear in this program is brought to you by Suit Connection, a men's formal wear store providing the best and most affordable suits in town. Search for them on Facebook by typing Suit Connection Tulsa or stop by at 61st and Sheridan in Tulsa. Are you looking for a different kind of fellowship? Come join us for our monthly luncheons on the second Monday of every month. Our luncheon is open to anyone, and we meet at Tiamo's, which is located in Tulsa at 61st and Sheridan. Every month, we host a speaker who is either a local business tycoon or successful leader. To be notified of future events, please text the word YBT 411 to 99000 or visit us at www.ybtok.com.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for Lasting Legacies with YBT. Check out information on our website, ybtok.com, for more information about our monthly luncheons, as well as how to get plugged in and connected with our organization. Bless you, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.